Lesson 4 for July 20 to 26, Mercy and Justice in Psalms and Proverbs. Thursday, July 25, Proverbs, Mercy on the Needy. As a collection of wisdom sayings, the book of Proverbs touches on a diverse range of topics and life experiences. Among these are reflections on poverty, riches, contentment, justice and injustice, and sometimes from different angles. Life is not always simple and straightforward, and Proverbs alerts us to the different circumstances and choices that influence how life is lived, even among those who are faithful to God. Question: read and compare Proverbs 10 verse 4, Proverbs 13 verses 23 and 25, chapter 14 verse 31, chapter 15 verse 15 and 16, and chapter 19 verses 15 and 17, and finally chapter 30 verses 7 to 9. What are these texts saying that is relevant to wealth, poverty, and helping those in need? First of all, Proverbs 10 verse 4, "He who has a slack hand becomes poor, but the hand of the diligent makes rich." And Proverbs 13 verses 23 and 25, "Much food is in the fallow ground of the poor, and for the lack of justice there is waste. The righteous eats to the satisfying of his soul, but the stomach of the wicked shall be in want." And chapter 14 verse 31, "He who oppresses the poor reproaches his maker, but he who honours him has mercy on the needy." And chapter 15 verses 15 and 16, "All the days of the afflicted are evil, but he who is of a merry heart has a continual feast. Better is a little with the fear of the Lord than great treasure with trouble." And chapter 19 verses 15 and 17, "Laziness casts one into a deep sleep, and an idle person will suffer hunger. He who has pity on the poor lends to the Lord, and he will pay back what he has given." And chapter 30 verses 7 through to 9. "Two things I request of you, deprive me not before I die. Remove falsehood and lies far from me. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with the food allotted to me, lest I be full and deny you, and say, 'Who is the Lord?' Or lest I be poor and steal and profane the name of my God." Proverbs emphasizes the concern and attention God has for the poor and vulnerable. Sometimes people are poor because of circumstances, poor choices, or exploitation. But whatever the causes of their situation, the Lord is still described as their Creator, as we read in Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 2. The rich and the poor have this in common: the Lord is the maker of them all. And defender, as we read in verses 22 and 23. "Do not rob the poor because he is poor, nor oppress the afflicted at the gate. For the Lord will please their cause, and plunder the soul of those who plunder them." These people are not to be oppressed or taken advantage of, whatever their mistakes. While Proverbs does offer a better life through choosing wisdom and obeying God, riches are not always the result of God's blessing. Faithfulness to God is always seen as more important and ultimately more rewarding than material gain, as we read in Proverbs 16 verse 8, "Better a little with righteousness than much gain with injustice." Another concern in Proverbs is honesty and fair dealing in business, government, and in administering justice, as we read in Proverbs 14 and verse 5. "A faithful witness does not lie, but a false witness will utter lies." And verse 25, "A true witness delivers souls, but a deceitful witness speaks lies." And chapter 16 and verses 11 to 13. "Honest weights and scales are the Lord's. All the weights in the bag are his work." It is an abomination for kings to commit wickedness, for a throne is established by righteousness. Righteous lips are the delight of kings, and they love him who speaks what is right. And Proverbs 17 and verse 15, he who justifies the wicked and he who condemns the just, both of them alike are an abomination to the Lord. And Proverbs 20 verse 23, diverse weights are an abomination to the Lord, and dishonest scales are not good. And chapter 21 verse 28, a false witness shall perish, but the man who hears him will speak endlessly. And Proverbs 28 verses 14 to 16, happy is the man who is always reverent, but he who hardens his heart will fall into calamity. Like a roaring lion and a charging bear is a wicked ruler over poor people. A ruler who lacks understanding is a great oppressor, but he who hates covetousness will prolong his days. Proverbs is not only concerned with the lives of individuals, but also offers insight as to how society as a whole should function for the benefit of all, particularly for those who need protection. We are reminded again that at their best, those who govern and lead do so with the help of God, as we read in Proverbs chapter 8 and verses 15 and 16. By me kings reign and rulers decree justice, by me princes rule and nobles, all the judges of the earth. And so should be acting as agents of his grace and compassion toward those in need. So to finish today, it's easy for anyone to feel sorry for those in bad situations. How, though, can we take that feeling of sorrow and turn it into action? You have been listening to a reading of the Adult Sabbath School Bible Study Guide by Dr. Percy Harold from Queensland, Australia. This service is brought to you by Hope Channel, the Sabbath School Department, and Christian Services for the Blind. Remember, God is always faithful.